All right, so in this video, we're going to be scheduling and tagging our window families. And most of the families tag and schedule the same way, just however you're used to doing it, it's probably going to be the same. But there are some specialty cases I'd like to go over. And just if you're brand new to Revit or using our families for the first time, maybe let's just, I'm just gonna start from the beginning and I'll start simple and then go to the more advanced stuff so that if you have any specialty cases or questions, I make sure I try to cover all of them. So let's start with tagging. That's the easiest thing to do. So I'm going to go to a floor plan, and here are all of our windows that we've got here. And you'll notice our downloads came with some tags already made. So there's a window tag called feet and inch. So I'm actually going to load all three of these in so I can show you what they look like and how they operate. So I'm going to drag all three in to the project. Okay, so once they're loaded, you can now hit the tag command. And if you hover over a window, you're going to get our tag tagging the windows. So let's just tag that one. Let's tag a couple of these, and I'll show you the different options. So the first thing I hate is the leader. So I'm just going to click on all of these and turn off the leader line. So now we no longer have a leader. Now, by default, depending on which tag, which type you loaded in, it may look different than this, but you'll see we do a couple things all in one tag. You have this, which is kind of more of a commercial annotation. This is just giving the window type. And then this is more for like the framer, and this is what we do in residential. This is giving the actual dimensions of the window. So it's a 3050, so 3 feet wide, 0 inches, or 3 feet, 0 inches wide, 5 feet, 0 inches tall, right? So that's great for like framers to easily be able to read on plan. Different people want their plans to look a different way. So we've tried to provide both options for you. So I can move this up here or wherever you would normally put it. And I'm going to click on this and show you what options you have. So there's this one that's showing like kind of the commercial and the residential at the same time. But you can also just have it show the commercial only, which is just the type mark is what it's called. So if you just want to show the type mark, you can pick that. And if you click on it, you can also change the type mark for that window. And again, if you click on the window and you look here, this tag is reading the parameter called type mark. So you have to, it's a type parameter, so you have to edit the window type. And you can see that it's 100. So if I want it to be 105, I could change that here and click OK, and it will update the tag. So that's what this tag is reading inside the window. Whereas this tag, where it's the 3050, it's reading the actual dimensions. So if I click edit type, it's reading the width and the height. So if we change this to 2.5 inches wide and 4 feet tall and click OK, it's going to update the tag. So now you can see it's a 2640 door, and it will change it for you. Then you can do a number of other options with it. So now let's look a little bit at the naming, because this can get confusing. So the first item, the first part of the naming is telling you whether it's the dimension or the type mark that's showing in the tag. So if I change it to just a dimension, that's only the dimension. So it's telling you dim means it's only displaying the dimensions. Whereas down here, if I click this one, it's going to display the type mark and the dimension. So that's this tag. Okay, so you want to pick that first portion first. Then after that, if it's one that shows the dimensions, it's telling you the format in which it's showing the dimensions. So it's just trying to tell you placeholder. This is a little bit hard to read, but bear with me. I had to do this because Revit will not allow me to do it any other way. So it's kind of a clunky workaround, but basically it's saying we're going to show the dimensions of the window, and it's going to show one character of feet and one character of inches for the width. And then the height is also going to be one character of feet, one character of inches. Okay, which this is the most standard. Most of the time, sometimes it's above like 9 feet wide, which means it would need more than one character in the feet place. And it's possible that a window could be like 9 feet, 10 inches, and it would need 2 characters in the inches location. It's better to show you than to tell you. So let's tag this guy. So this window is huge. It's 12 feet wide. So you can see when you look at the tag, you see how it's trying to show 12, but the 0 in the inches is on top of the 12. It's because I need to select a different type. So let's go over here. Let's just do dimensions. So you can see the problem here. It's 12, and it's because this is only meant to be showing one character for the feet position. What we need is 2 characters in the feet position. So I'm going to go back down. So you see here how it says OOX? That means there's one character, two characters for the feet, and only one X means there's just one character for the inches. So we really want, this is what we want right here. Two characters for the feet, one for the inches on width. And then for height, we only need one character for the feet and one character for the inches. So you just select that, and you see how it fixes it? So by default, if you're showing the dimensions and it's not looking correctly, it's because you need to correctly tell it how many character places there are for each part of the dimension. I'm sorry that you have to do this manually. I hate this. I have looked for workarounds for a long time and can't get this fixed. But be sure that if they make a way for me to do this, I will update it for you and you will have the latest. But for now, it's kind of annoying. So if you need an option that isn't here, because when you do the math, there's like 16 different options possible with this combination. So it's possible that there's an option I haven't pre-made. You can always make the option you need so for instance, if I just want the dimension only, there's not an OOXOX option up here. So let's make one. So I'm just going to hit edit type. I'm going to duplicate it and I'm going to rename it. So this is going to be an OOXOX. So like that. So click OK. Now the width in feet, that's where I need two characters. So I'm just going to make it two characters. And everywhere else I can have one character. So the width inches, the height feet, and the height inches, those are just one character. So I'll just leave it. So the only one I had to change was this to 2. And I click OK. And now it's two characters, then 1, then 1, then 1. Okay. Whew, I hope you followed that. I know it's a little confusing. That's as hard as the tags are going to get. Okay, some other options you have with these tags are you can also show the type category. So for instance, because this is a casement window, it'll show a CA. If we change this to show the type category, this is an HO, stands for hopper. And this is an awning, so it'll be AW. So if we show the type. So now someone could easily look at this. If you had a key off to the side of your floor plan, there's a key for hopper, awning, casement. And what's happening is this is reading, if I go into the window, it's reading the type category. So if I hit edit type, type comment, sorry. So you see how that's HO. If you wanted to use something else like hop, maybe that's your abbreviation, you could change that there and it would read on the tag. So this is reading the dimensions and then this reads the type comments. In addition to that, you can also add on the sill height. So now the framer can see this is a casement window. It's 3050 and it's 2.5 feet off the ground. The sill is 2.5 feet. And if I change the sill height to 3 feet, it will update the tag. All right, then in addition to that, you can also add a comment. And this is an instance comment. So this can be different for each window. So I can click on the window and over here, there is a comments section, like maybe frosted. So it'll add frosted to the tag. And again, if you edit the type, you can make any other combination of tag you want. So this first section deals with how many characters are in the dimension portion of the tag. And then you can turn off, it also tells you how many characters you plan to use in your type comments because it'll recenter everything more correctly if you give it the right. By default, all of my type comments for each window are 2 characters. So by default, this comes as 2 characters. But if you adopt a 3 or 4 character, naming convention, you can change that. Anyways, you can also turn on and off all these different items. So you can show or not show the type mark, the width and height, the type comment, the sill height, an instance comment, and you can also, if the sill height is not centering correctly, you can click this button and it should refresh it and correct it. And then you can tell whether or not there's a leader arrowhead or not, but I don't like to use the leaders personally. Okay, so that's tagging. Sorry, that sounded complicated. Well, that's standard tagging using the window tag. Now, if you watched our other video, you know that if you want to make a custom window, we used a curtain wall. So how do you tag a curtain wall? So there's a couple ways you could go about doing it. You could actually just tag the curtain wall itself, which is why we loaded in this wall tag. So I created a wall tag that looks like a window tag. So if I tag this curtain wall, you'll see that it displays the properties of that curtain wall. And it's trying to show the 6x11, but again, we would need to make the correct tag for it. So you could do it that way. but it's not going to automatically, like if I try to show the sill height, oh, it does actually, sorry, it is showing the sill height. There is one feature, I can't remember what one it is, but it will mess up if you do. So if you don't use the feature, you can just tag a curtain wall, but you don't have to. Because if you saw how we built this curtain wall, you'll also remember that there is an actual window here that's just an opening. So I'm going to temporarily hide the trim. I'm going to temporarily hide the curtain wall and all of the windows in the curtain wall. Okay, so now what's left is, this is the actual window, the opening. This is something you can tag as well. So if you'd like to tag that, you can just use a regular window tag and you don't have to use the curtain wall tag. But I provided you with both so that you have the option, and whatever you feel works better for you, you can use. And I'll show you when we get into scheduling. Again, you'll want this window opening there for the schedule, because you can't schedule a curtain wall on a window schedule. You can only schedule windows on a window schedule. So you'll need this opening, which is a window, in order to get this window represented on your schedule. So we'll hit that later. The last thing I want to show you is, let's make up a scenario now. Sometimes you'll have a situation where, let's do this window. Let's make it a little smaller. Well, let's say that's fine. And maybe let's copy this up. So maybe you'll have a high window and a low window, but on floor plan, when we go there on floor plan here, we've tagged the lower window, but how do you tag the upper window? Because it's not in the cut plane of this floor plan, it's hard to tag the upper window. So I've included a fake tag. So that's this one. It says it's a generic annotation window tag. So let's place that. In order to place that, you're going to, it's a symbol component. And I'm going to have to look up, let's see, I think it's under annotate. Looking for symbol here. Okay, it's here over at the very end. So you're going to place a symbol. And because we have already loaded our window tag symbol in, you can just place it. So typically, when I do high windows, I'll tag the window here, and then I'll put the next window above it. And because this isn't linked to the window above, because that view, it's not taggable in this view because it's outside of the view, you're just going to manually enter it. So we can come over here and we can do the window width is 2.5 feet. And then the height, let's say, is maybe 2 feet. And so now it's displaying the window above. And typically I like to have a comment and a seal height. So let's just say this was a fixed window. So we'll put FX there. And the sill height will be, 10 feet above the ground. And then I just like to put above, so that people know that's the window above. Okay, so we gave you 3 tags. Those are the cases in which you would probably use all 3. And that kind of gives you solutions for, or that's at least how I solve all of those problems when I run into them on my projects, because I use all of these families on my projects. Okay, let's go into the next step, which is scheduling. So let's build a schedule from scratch together and talk about some of the things that are going to happen in that schedule that might be a little funny, and how to fix those issues. So I'm going to go to View. I'm going to go to Schedules, and I'm going to Schedule Quantities, and I'm going to pick Windows. We're just going to name it Window Example Schedule, or let's do Test Schedule. It's going to be the new construction phase, and we'll just click OK. It's going to open up this dialog box, and it's going to ask us, what do you want to include in the schedule? So we are going to just start picking what we want. So for me, we'll want to know what level it's on. Maybe we'll want to know the type mark. So let's find that. Type mark. You may want to know the count. So let's find count for each window. We'll want to know the width and the height. So let's get that. Width, height. We'll add that. Then maybe we want the head height and also the seal height. You could add rough opening. You could add comments. For now, let's just start with this. Well, actually, we already did. Let's do type comments. Let's add that to the list. And we could also just list comments on here. Can sometimes be helpful. Here we go. Another thing I like to put on mine is what room they're associated with. So to do that, it's a little bit different. You have to switch off of windows. See how it's letting you pick parameters from the windows. And you also need to pick parameters from the room. So there's a to room and a from room. And the to room is usually on the exterior side of the house. So it's going to be blank, but I'll show you anyways. Let's do a to room and a from room. So the to room, we want the name of that. So basically it's going to pull any of these properties you want. It'll pull it from the room on one side of the window, which is considered the to room. And then the from room is on the other side of the window. So what properties do you want to pull into the schedule from that room? And that's going to be name as well. And I'm going to put these up kind of by level. Oh, and I accidentally put I don't want the number of the room. I want the name of the room. Okay, let's click OK, and it's going to build us the schedule real quickly. And you can just see what it's like. Oh, this is a bad example because we don't have rooms in this project. So let's quickly create rooms. I'm just going to use some walls to quickly get us some rooms. And up on this page is the interior side. So I'm just going to let's pretend. I don't know why it's getting a wall joint problem, but let's just pretend we have one big room like that. And then I'm just going to connect all of these for fun to make sure this all ends up one big room. Okay, and then maybe we'll do a couple rooms. We'll do that. We'll do another room there. And then just another room. Okay, so now we've divided up with walls, and we're going to place some rooms here. 1, 2, 3, 4. It says that's not enclosed. Why does it not think? Oh, it's because that's a roof. We'll fix that. Okay. So now we're going to name this room, living room. Let's hit these with room tags. Oops, we don't want to save that. Okay, so we're just going to tag that. We'll call that the living room. Just tag each one of these. This is going to be dining. Maybe we should do all caps. Kitchen. Bath. And then living. All right, so now when we go back to our test schedule, do you see how it's filled in all of the rooms, generally speaking? And some are on the to side and some are on the from side. So how that's being determined is let's go in 3D and we click on a window, you see these little arrows. So any room that's on this side of the window, that would be the to room. And then anything on this side of the window where the arrow is pointing from the room to the window, that's the from room. So any room objects on this side, that's the from room. This is the to room. So that's why the to room, there's nothing here. We've got living room as the from room and nothing on the other side because there's no room on the other side of the window, which is usually the exterior side of the building. So I just won't put this column in. And if there's windows that do have things on that side, we'll need to figure out what's going on. Usually the window just needs to be flipped around. The window's orientation is wrong in the wall, and you just need to flip it. So everything that's showing dining room, it means the windows are needing to be flipped. It's all of the curtain wall windows, it looks like. So that would need to be corrected. So that might be a problem that you have, is the room name is in the wrong column. That is fixed by flipping it. All right, so let's see what else is going on in this schedule. We've got the level, we've got the to and from room, and then we've got the type mark. So if you're using that, you can include that or not. There you can do the count of all the different windows. The width and height should automatically fill in. Same with the head height and sill height, and they should all be correct. And then the type comments will allow you to show if it's a fixed, an awning. It'll take that same the type abbreviation from the tags, and it will put it into the schedule. And then if you have any comments, like we commented that one of the windows is frosted, that will also show up in the schedule. So the next problem you'll find is maybe there's windows in here that shouldn't be. So if we look in 3D, If you remember, this is all one window. Oops. Or in our mind, this really is one window, but in the schedule, it's probably showing 12 different windows, right? Because this is a window, this is. All of these are separate windows, when really this should be one window. So let's talk about how we get rid of that. First, we need to find these in the schedule. And it should be pretty easy to find these because by default, if you've got the type comments in the schedule, I've named anything that's a curtain wall window has a CW appended at the end. And so we know we don't want these to schedule individually. We don't want them to schedule at all. At least in this case scenario, we want all of these windows gone. So we're just going to filter these out. So we're going to use, it says, what column do you want to use? And we're going to use the type comments. And if it contains let's do hyphen space CW. Let's see if that works. Click OK. If it contains that, that did the opposite. It's only showing the ones that contain that. So let's look at that. We want does not contain. We want the opposite of that. So now you see how none of those curtain wall windows are showing. That's great. But we do want to make sure that that one window is represented in our schedule. So how do we find that? This is the reason, if you watched this portion of the video where we created this custom window, if you watched that video, we deliberately include it. So I'm going to temporarily hide a bunch of this stuff. If you remember, we included a window that was just an opening. So let's find this in the schedule and make sure that it's showing, because this is how we're going to represent that whole window in the schedule. So I'm going to put something in the comments here that says custom window. Now, if I look in the schedule, I look down the comments, here's our custom window. And you can see it shows it being 6 feet wide, 11 feet tall. And in our example that we made in the previous video, those weren't the right dimensions, but this window is actually, that is exactly what this window is 6 feet wide, 11 feet tall. And you can see that its sill height is 1 foot off the ground and its head height is 12 feet off the ground. So it's showing up. And now all we would do is we could maybe give that a type mark. Maybe this is window type AAA. And then on your window legend, you would just show that window and you would show the different pieces of that window. That's how we do our schedules. Everyone has a different way, but hopefully it's similar enough that this would accomplish that for you guys. So if you have a custom window, I would just schedule, the only thing I would schedule is not all of the individual windows, but just the overall opening and make comments there. You could do the opposite. You could, instead of filtering out all the curtain wall windows, if you wanted to tag each window individually, you could do that. And then I would hide this big opening because you don't want it double counted, because then in that case, you're tagging all the 12 windows, but leaving out the big opening. So I would reverse the filter to filter out openings. Okay, I think that's about as simple as it gets. Let's take a look at a sample schedule here. So inside the demo file I include in your download, you'll see there is already made a window schedule. So if you just want to copy this schedule and paste it into your project and start from there, you can edit it. But you can see these are typical columns we usually include in our schedules. And so I've tried to include everything that you would want in yours. So that's a good starting off point if you would like to start there and then make your own schedules. Okay, happy designing, and I'll see you in the next video.